13's live streaming service. That was a bit slow, wasn't it? This is Force 13 Live. It's 4 o'clock here in the UK, UTC, 8 o'clock in Mauritius, where Cyclone Carlos is approaching. But Cyclone Carlos is also struggling. My name's Nathan Foy. I'm joined in this hour by Craig. Hi Craig, how are you? He's still here.
I'm doing fine. Yes, I'm still here. I'm still alive.
Excellent. Because we'll need that.
Yes.
We'll need that.
Yes.
Getting a little bit dark here at Force 13 HQ. That will certainly materialise a lot more in the next hour as dusk starts to fall over here at 53 degrees north, and don't we know it, 5 degrees Celsius here. But we're going away from winter and into summer in Mauritius, where we have Cyclone Carlos. Craig, any new thoughts materialising with you in the last few minutes?
Still looks terrible.
Still looks terrible.
I'm just I'm just updating the imagery just to see if there is anything different. And it still looks the same as before. It's still badly sheared. Obviously, it'll take time for the shear to go down if it is decreasing. I've tried to check if the wind shear is decreasing or if there's been a wind shear update. There hasn't been. I'll check this now. I doubt it. No, there has not. Darn it. IR has broken on RAM, so that helps me a bunch. Not really. I'm just going to refresh it again. Right. Obviously not working.
Well,
there's the latest image.
Whilst you're working on that, let me just let everyone know what's going on right now. I was going to say Signal 3 then. A Class 2 warning is in effect in Mauritius right now and could be upgraded to a Class 3 warning later, but it's looking unlikely. A torrential rain warning could come into effect at any time based on observations of very high amounts of rainfall in the last 3 hours in Mauritius, in certain parts of the eastern side, believe it or not, as well as in the north. Winds have so far reached 96 kilometers per hour in Port Louis. And if you've got any comments or questions for us whilst we're on the air, send us a message on the comments section of the live event. And you can also, of course, contact us on Facebook and Twitter. And Fool13 on Skype if you'd like to contact me personally on the issue. But Craig, moving back to it, what were you going to go on to next?
Well, IR's back up. Wow. It's I consider the RAM is broken. It's at 15Z. Darn it.
Is it?
Yes, it's broken on 15Z. But it's Carlos is still looking no real different. I say it's getting worse. If anything, I'd say it's getting worse. But again, it's in shear, so getting worse is it? It's not real surprise, to be honest. It's looking stark now for Carlos. Is it time for lights out?
What's that? Looks like Craig's had to be called away. Well, on his point there, on whether it's the beginning of the end of Carlos, there are signs there. You can see the dry air intrusion is chronic. The wind shear is really beginning to take a toll on the storm, but it can just about establish some more convection over the centre, those thunderstorms marked by the red areas. If you're unfamiliar with this particular kind of imagery and what exactly it means, I'll talk you through it with the colour coding. So basically it is the satellite measuring the temperature of the surface of the Earth, and obviously the clouds get in the way, and the higher the cloud is, the bigger obviously the higher the elevation the cloud is from the thunderstorms, obviously that denotes a stronger system. And you can see some areas there, some yellow points near the center of the cyclone. showing -80 Celsius cloud tops, suggesting that they're extremely high in the atmosphere. And the red areas are -70 Celsius, the green areas there -60 or so, the blue -50, and some of that is moving over Mauritius right now, which sometimes, which quite often, but not always, shows significant amounts of rainfall. Obviously, to actually get the rainfall graphics, you'd look at the radar imagery, which I'm hoping that Craig will be able to show us a little bit later. But that's what the storm looks like, and there's not that much red and green zones around the center of the storm. Usually you'd expect a lot more than this. Certainly the blue zones, you'd expect a lot more around the storm. It just goes to show how much this storm is struggling right now, and it reminds me these blow-ups of convection there to the center just seems to me like almost the last gasp of the storm. We don't know whether it's going to weaken or not, or whether it's going to intensify. We suggest that the storm right now has winds of around 60 miles per hour sustained. That's around 95-100 kilometers per hour. That wind speed has been recorded in Port Louis, but I'm not sure if it was just a wind gust. 96 kilometers per hour has been recorded in the capital, and rainfall 80 millimeters in some areas in just a 3-hour period. Craig, could you bring up the radar if possible?
I'll see if that is
Again.
physically possible.
Yes, hopefully it is.
I'll see if that's physically possible. But just to let you know, when my phone rang, that scared the living daylights out of me.
Yeah, probably half the viewers as well.
Sorry. Just the phone decided to ring at a bad time.
Yes.
I don't know where the screen share is up yet on stream. I hope it is.
It isn't.
Oh well, darn
look,
it.
Craig's going to run into one of those problems, I see. Yep.
I'll wait a little bit longer.
Oh, there it is. We have got it. Thank goodness.
See, patience pays off.
There's the latest.
Patience does work.
The latest radar imagery there, from
Yes.
Réunion, Mauritius on the right-hand side, and a lot more yellow areas now.
Yeah, the rain bands
Look at
like
that.
they have
The southern
intensified
side of the
slightly.
island really got hit in the last few minutes.
I'll try and see if I can stop it at that point. Oops.
Yeah, it was
Back
one
a bit.
particular band that has been going through pretty recently that's
Yeah, this
caused
band
all
here.
that rainfall. But I mean, you can see it on satellite as well.
Yeah. I don't want to say the rain bands are intensifying. I'd certainly say they're not at the minute because they've been
Okay.
fluctuating in strength.
It's going to bump up those rainfall totals.
Oh yeah, it certainly is. But I reckon I certainly reckon after Mauritius, after it hit them, it's near gone. That it started immediately dissipating as soon as it hit land. Really. But what's interesting is you see it accumulated from the south. You see it's coming in there, the last image there, and it
Yep.
accumulates from the south
It came from the
of
northeast.
the rain bands. Well, accumulated from basically everywhere. It accumulated from all directions, but most of it came from the actual south. Not really much else to say about the radar, but it's starting to really get into Reunion's hair at the minute. Starting to impact
those
them with
areas
some
that
rain
are under
bands.
the orange rain warnings certainly living up to those warnings right now.
Yeah, you really are. You can see here that these little scattered rain showers, thunderstorms are part of the circulation of Carlos. You can probably, if you probably work out very carefully, the center is just probably about up here somewhere, right up there, just outside of the
Way out,
the
I'd
range
say.
of radar. Yeah, probably probably going way up there somewhere.
But I was just looking at the top there. So Réunion's still under just a pre-alert at this point.
Yeah, just a pre-alert, just a pre-cyclone alert at this point in time. So there's nothing else up to date. Well, that is up to date. So pretty much nothing else. I mean, rainfalls when you see that area again. Has that caused flooding? It probably has caused probably some flash flooding, depending on how long it lasted. But going by that, well, probably didn't
Long
last
enough.
long. But it's radar. It just does scan after scan. So that might have been lasting. That might have lasted for about what 10, 15 minutes about there maybe. Might not have. Just updating the radar now, seeing if there's anything new. I'm not seeing anything brand new with it. Let's see if the warnings are low. Now it's probably going to say that I killed the web page again. Nope,
Well, what
hasn't.
would you
Smooth.
say the storm's intensity is right now?
Well, the storm's intensity, I'd literally looking at it on radar and then on RAM.
Satellite.
I'd probably say that that's struggling for even 40.
It does look
As
awful.
knots, that is. I'd say that's struggling for 40 knots. I'd literally say it's struggling.
Well, in those latest frames, you can just see again that blow up of convection. It's just decaying. It's not sustaining itself.
No, it's Carlos, I think, is waving the white
And
flag here.
again, it's being sheared. You can see it being
Yeah.
pushed towards the south there, and any convection cannot sustain itself over the centre of the storm, which is what we always look for when we classify tropical cyclones. And at this rate, we could be looking in an hour or two at calling this all off and saying it's a remnant low.
Because I think here you can just see where my mouse is if the stream's got up to date.
Well, I'm
with it.
showing the same imagery, so we'll understand.
Yeah, it's just to the north. Here, I'm starting to see the LLCC again. Is this? I think this is a sign of the end of him. I really do think it is. I really say this could be the end of him. But then again, I don't want to write a storm off because I wrote a storm off that became a Cat 4. Damn it. Yes, I still let myself know about it today. But, you know, I'm starting to see the LLCC and Carlos. It looks like it's starting to come exposed again. And then it brings back into question to the big bright spotlight. Is it the end? Is it the beginning of the end of Carlos? For me, I'm probably saying yes. I'm probably saying that this is now the beginning of the end of Carlos. I think we could be starting to wave the white handkerchiefs and waving goodbye to it. There's probably the bit sad, soppy way of doing it, but still. But I'm starting to see that this could be it. This could be it for Carlos. And tomorrow morning, as you said, we could be doing exactly as you said. We could be calling this all off, saying it's a remnant low. Literally, we could be very easily saying that, if not earlier. And it's amazing how well from this storm went from looking yesterday. I mean, yeah, okay, it didn't look the best yesterday, but it still looked it looked 10 times better than what it does now. Let's put it that way. It looked 10 times better then than it did now, or than it does now. But I'd still say that this thing was a cyclone at peak intensity yesterday. But now you could be very easily saying it's game over for Carlos. You could be very easily saying it, but what's the chances in the next wind shear update that the shear could be decreasing? And it's
Yeah.
in my mind, I don't want to write it off just yet in case there's that chance at the next wind shear update.
But
that
it's
got the
so
wind shear decreasing.
strange it's looking like it's on life support, and three models say it will become a significant Hurricane Force cyclone after it passes Reunion. But I know the HWRF looks like that it's initialized the storm incorrectly. That's one.
Yeah.
So they've gone in too high to begin with, which may have corrupted the result. I don't know whether that might have happened with the other storms, perhaps, or the other model runs, perhaps.
Probably it might have caused a knock-on effect. I'm just going to check the
So
wind
you
shear,
may
see if
have
there's-
to throw out that all those three that we were looking at in the last hour, perhaps.
Yeah, you could do, and then basically have to go off of nothing, really, or go off of what you're seeing,
Of what we're seeing, which is yeah,
which is just basic. Bleh.
A very weak
That's,
storm,
that's basically all it is.
but a rainmaker at that.
Oh yeah,
And you can definitely
that's
see
what I think could be the problem.
those last frames, you know, flare-ups occurring next to or over southern and eastern Mauritius.
You certainly can. But wind shear in the 12Z update, it's got the wind shear decreasing where the storm's got to go, but I'm still seeing increasing wind shear right over the storm center. That's where I think that this is now. If Carlos is to make a comeback, if he does, and if he is to make a comeback, it's now or never. That's literally all I can say about him now. If he wants to make a comeback, it is now, literally now or never. And this is why I don't really like writing storms off, because especially if they're in this vast ocean of water, I mean, they could very easily come
That's
back.
something we've not looked at yet. Water temperatures.
Yes, they've been a bit neglected, haven't they? I suppose I better get them up. But meaning as SSTs, as going by the wind shear, the satellite imagery is based on IR. I haven't really had a chance to look at microwave yet, but I can guarantee you, before I even bother looking at it, it's gonna look absolute terrible.
Okay.
I could literally reassure you that it will look absolute awful. Probably even roadkill. Which I could probably assure you that it is looking like roadkill.
Let's have a look.
Microwave.
Sea surface temperatures first. I'm expecting that they're still around 27, 28 Celsius. Certainly warm enough to sustain tropical cyclone development. Did you just open up the large version?
Yes, I did.
Oh dear.
I opened up the high. I opened up the high definition one. I opened up the high quality
huge
one.
file.
Not the low one. I don't like the low one anymore.
Well, I use the low one and updates because I have to.
Damn it!
Otherwise, we wouldn't have updates. It would crash the software. Anyway, zoom in. Go.
Zoomed in. There we go.
We're a bit behind. Okay, there we are. Yeah, that's a nice picture. So, if you know where the storm is, you might want to hover over it with your cursor to show everyone where it is. But you can see Mauritius and Réunion there, surrounded by waters of around 28 Celsius or so. Look west of Madagascar, by the way, 30 Celsius plus. If we had a storm in that region, the Mozambique Channel, we could have some.
We could be looking at a big one.
Yeah, reminds me a bit of Funso. Was it Funso in that area?
Oh.
You might have one of those.
I do.
Who knows?
But just going over to where 90S is, or 93S, it's what it's got to move over to. It's got some pretty favourable conditions to move into, especially in terms of SSTs. So I still need to check the wind shear for it, but it's got 30 degrees when it comes off the coast, and it's got a little bit cooler, but it's still
and decent sea surface temperature extends as far south as, what's that, 30 south?
About there, I imagine. So yeah, basically cuts off about here, shall I say, or about decent sea surface temperatures cut out of about this region here. But then again, obviously it comes up and around. But any reference to sea surface temperatures, it cuts off based on the boundary here. But I'd still say that 93S does have a decent chance of forming, but it needs to get off of Australia. But as we've learned twice this year, we've had two landfoons, which is basically
landfoons.
Yes, that's what they're described as. Is basically what a landfoon is basically a storm that's over land, and it's rotating and getting stronger instead of weakening. So it's basically, what is it, non-tropical? I don't know whether they are supposed to be tropical or not, but I'd consider them non-tropical entities at that point. But I'm going to go around the globe here, see this, and I'm going to...
Well, I want to interrupt you, Craig, because I believe we're joined by a guest. Somewhere.
Oh, yep. Really?
Giri Dharan. Yep. I have no idea how to pronounce your name.
It's Giri Dharan, but you can just call me
right.
Giri. Yeah, you can just call me Giri like everyone else.
Wonderful. And you're in Mauritius at this time?
Yeah, I am in Mauritius. I'm actually Mauritian and having a happy cyclone day, as we call it over here.
Happy Cyclone Day.
Oh, I've
Well,
heard it all
you
now.
know, the way it's going, it might well be a happy cyclone day. You know, that you might not end up getting one.
Might not.
Yeah. I think all the kids around here are thrilled because they have had a day off from school, which every kid loves. Not just the kids, even my sister. She did not get to go. I mean, she didn't have to go to uni today, so yeah, it's quite fun.
Cool. We already had someone in Mauritius. We're hoping he will be joining us later, Jean-Michel Chung, if you've ever heard of him.
Oh.
He's an interesting character. Oh yeah, Craig knows all about that. We're glad to have someone else from the area. Okay, Craig, calm down. We're glad to have someone else from the area here as well. That's good. Now, where in relation on the island do you live? Is it an area that has had the worst of the wind or the rain so far?
Well, first thing, it's a really small, I mean, tiny island. It's a piece of rock, like I usually describe it to friends who are from abroad. So wherever you are on the island, it's quite consistent. I'm on the east side of the island, not too far off, like 10 minutes away from the coast. So yeah, the wind, it kind of picked up in the past 3-4 hours. It
From
was very gradual.
what I've been seeing, the eastern side has had more rainfall than anything.
Oh yeah, I mean it's really flooding over here right now.
Okay.
It's been pouring really heavily, and it's not stopping. It's only the wind which has picked up lately, and I'm seeing comments like, "Hey, it's starting to dissipate. It's going down low," and just like yourself, you're like saying, it's losing its intensity. But down here on the ground, it feels quite the opposite because we did not have much wind at all.
It's getting
But
closer,
in the
no
past,
doubt.
yeah, so it certainly feels different. So that's how it kind of feels down here locally. I wish I could show you some pictures, but it's already all too dark out here, and unfortunately, I don't have IR cameras, so
Yes.
too bad.
That's okay. Just the description is good enough, I think. But the point I'm making is that the storm is weakening from what it was. Now it's moving closer to Mauritius, so conditions are still going to deteriorate. But I have to say, if it keeps going, the winds may continue to weaken around the center of the storm, and then Mauritius will probably not have as bad a night. That's the best case scenario if we're talking about that. But you know, the storm could still intensify as it moves towards the southwest. Craig, its motion right now, is it moving due south?
Have a look. Try and confirm that for you. Satellite. To radar. Now, let the image catch up to the recent one. Now, actually, this will be a good point to describe what happened earlier this morning. There, if the screen shares up.
Yeah, I
That's
prefer
catched up on
Reunion's
the
imagery.
screen.
That's pretty good.
You can see there very clearly, there's the LLCC popping out to say hello and saying, clearly kill me now. But obviously there, the big burst of convection it covers the center immediately. But you can definitely tell that just looks like a very badly sheared thunderstorm. And I just think the page just died on me. Oh no, HP support. God damn it,
Wonderful.
PC! Stop causing problems. God damn it!
Craig's gonna lose his marbles, I think.
Yeah.
I've already
I do
lost.
have one question for you,
Yes.
Greg.
Oh, Craig.
How do you get around the French pages?
How do I get around the French pages? I just guess. I just
Nice.
improvise. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I do have to improvise. Unfortunately, even though I did take French in school, which my French teacher would rather kill me at if I was if she was watching this. No, thank God she doesn't.
Well, I'll let you sort out the problems. I just wanted to mention something you were already bringing up a little. I mean, just before I joined the call. You were talking about temperature of the water,
Yes.
the sea.
Yes.
And I think that kind of ties into what you were asking just before we switched on to Greg's failed feed. So, yeah, it's the Indian Ocean. We don't really have, we did not really have much tropical cyclones as in the past decade.
Oh, it's
As
been
I mean,
dead.
relatively speaking, compared to what we used to have a couple of 20, 30, 40 years ago, up till let's say let's say till the year 2000.
Yeah.
So after 2002, 3, somehow I don't know. It's maybe due to climate change, global warming, or whatever. The fact is, we did not have as many tropical cyclones down here, which is kind of odd. Now, tropical cyclones in, like you mentioned, in the southern hemisphere, tends to be very notorious. You can't just write them off that quickly because they just happen to come back to life somehow. And speaking of water temperature, it's been very, very hot the past month. And even for any Mauritians, they will tell you that, especially over the past 2 weeks, it's not just been hot, it's been very hot and humid, quite humid, which is, I think, must have been around something on the upper side of what we have had on records for the past years. So I think if Carlos is gonna, I don't know, is gonna be a menace, or if it's gonna intensify itself, the chances for this are, in my opinion, quite high, because it's just water all around the island. So if there is enough humidity in the air and the chances, the conditions are right, and certainly in terms of temperature around this area of the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, it's not the water temperature stopping it at all. It's the wind shear and some dry air intrusion. Yeah. But it's a good point, because we've had so little storm activity. Conditions are right, but maybe later in the season of a big storm somewhere.
Yes.
Probably. I do not have the data right now. I just tuned into the channel just by accident. So yeah, I'm quite loving it, by the way. You guys are doing a great job.
Always in an accident.
Always.
Yeah. It's
just accident. To confirm, Nathan, with your question of whether the storm is moving due south, I can confirm in the latest imagery here that the storm has been moving backwards. Literally,
backwards.
It was moving backwards at one point. Well, it's like the Star Trek Enterprise. It can't find reverse, but this time it did. Oh wait, it's Carlos, darn it. Yes, but Carlos was moving backwards, of all things, and now has decided to move south. I don't know whether it's looking like it's going to head towards Mauritius. I don't want to jump the gun just yet.
Well, we were concerned yesterday, when the storm was jogging east, and it briefly moved east of. If you were to draw a line pointing north from Mauritius, the storm was east of that line, but now it appears to be back west, and it looks like it will go through with its forecast in turning southwest, and then possibly a landfall on Reunion Island.
Yeah, possibly, and possibly doing what all the models were saying that they were doing, saying that the storm was going to do. But then the question is, after it makes landfall, if it does make a landfall, but the main question is, what will happen?
Well, with Mauritius, the storm is probably not going to make landfall, but it doesn't really matter, because with the thunderstorms and the rainfall displaced to the southeast, it's going to get the brunt of the storm anyway, what's left of it. I have to say, it does look better on Reunion's imagery than it does on the one that we've been showing for a while.
Yes, I do have to say that. It does look better, but IR really does show. Now, I'm going to disturb myself and look at microwave imagery.
Okay.
Yes. I will physically destroy whatever's left of my sanity. Thank you, PC, for destroying 100%. Oh, wait, that's none at all. destroying 99.9% of my sanity, popping up HP as support assistant, which I don't want. Right, and of all times, and then my webpage dying on me. Yep, thank you. It's not been my day, has it, Nathan?
No, it hasn't. We can tell, I think.
It really hasn't, has it? Anyway, Archer now, what have they... If they do not have... I am now mentally disturbed.
Now, what's this?
This is Archer, and this is
wait a
microwave
minute.
image.
That's what it looks like right now? Blimey.
Yep, that is terrible.
There's nothing to it.
That's worse than what I thought it would be, and I literally need a bag just to throw up in how horrible this looks. Yeah, this. I honestly want to question the model runs here and say, where on earth do you see this thing pulling a hurricane forced winds further on in the future out of the bottom of the barrel here? How the heck's it going to pull this out? I really am doubting it here, but 55 knots, more like 25. I'm sorry, but that just looks terrible.
Well, don't forget that it takes a little while for the winds to die down when a storm loses its presentation. So I'd still be going with something like 50 miles an hour, 80 kilometers per hour at least, with higher gusts. Now, a common local news, I'm guessing in Mauritius, suggests Carlos has intensified. I would say that it's maintained with that latest flare-up, and the flare-up's about to end, and we're going to have to wait and see in the next imagery to see what exactly happens, whether it just completely fizzles out again, or whether it does another push towards what?
This is an image on Microwave earlier this morning. Oh, that is terrible. Oh, that's shocking.
Oh dear.
There was nothing to it. Oh dear. Oh lordy Lou. Oh dear. Now I told you why I'd be mentally disturbed if I looked at microwave imagery.
Yeah,
this is why.
You've been successful at that, clearly.
Yes, I have. I really have succeeded at that. And if this is okay, I'm just going to look back at when Carlos was at his best and when the eye popped out. Well, in fact...
Yeah, that might be a good idea to show people the perspective here as to how it used to look compared to how it looks now. And you might get a better idea of what we've been talking about.
Yeah, this is at 40 miles an hour. You can see half of an eye wall actually developing. This is only at 40.
But I wonder, Craig, if you could show the infrared imagery of how it looks near its peak.
Near its peak intensity, I will indeed.
That might take a few minutes.
Yes, and at that time you can entertain yourselves. Good
idea.
I'm not funny.
So the latest reports from Mauritius last I saw is that the highest amount of rainfall that had fallen in the last 3 hours, which isn't very long at all, was 80.2 millimeters at Queen Victoria. Now, obviously, I'm not familiar with the geography, but I'm guessing that's a pretty elevated location.
Not at all.
No?
No, Queen Victoria is actually very close to where I am. So it's not that elevated. It's still on the east side of the island.
Must be some anomaly.
So, no, it's not an anomaly. It's just like you said.
In terms of the rainfall.
Yeah, but it's really pouring more on the east side of the island. I do not know why the clouds are not hitting the center or the west side of the island. But yeah, Queen Victoria is just...
You can see how it's happened on the satellite imagery. Just a flare, a tiny flare, a microscale flare-up that occurred to the southeastern side of the storm, which pretty much popped up right where you are.
Yeah. I can see that now. It's quite funny, but
there might be more on the way in the next 2-3 hours or less.
I mean, the imagery is kind of a bit weird. It still looks like a storm which is still in its infancy, I would say, because it's quite scattered around.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not the expert in here. You guys are. But
supposedly disorganized. It certainly is. But that's
yeah,
because of
it's so,
those
so
bad conditions. The wind shear that it's fighting with pretty much pushes away all of its convection thunderstorms off towards the southeast as it's doing. And as a result, it's not having a great time. If shear was to lighten up a little bit, then the storm would have more of a future indeed. But I don't know what the trend is with the wind shear right now, Craig.
We do have other Mauritians in the Skype. Sorry, not Skype chat, but the YouTube chat. So
Yes.
maybe they can. You guys can even write in Creole, and I can translate over in English to these folks. So yeah.
I did wonder about that. We've done that in the past with the Philippines and other places that we've done updates with. Obviously, the typhoons over there. It's the first real storm that we've done live streaming with in this part of the world, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I believe it is, because the last time it obviously we had Cyclone Bansi, but it wasn't really affecting land, so we just did the recorded updates rather than any live coverage. But we do go live when storms are affecting land areas. Anyway, again, if you've got any comments or questions for us, as said, write in any language, I guess, into the comments section. Maybe someone will be able to help you, if not us. And we'll do our best to respond. Here it's a beautiful 5 Celsius and raining at Force 13 HQ. Wouldn't you love to be here? I wouldn't. But in Mauritius, Carlos is delivering... It does fall into the torrential rain category in some areas, especially on the east coast there.
Yeah, not just the East Coast. I'm seeing one guy. He's just sent a picture on one of the Skype chat you've added me, Force 13 fans. So
yes.
It's not very visible, but we can kind of see a little lake, a little pond coming up around where he lives. So yeah, it's not just on the east side of the island. It's also on the central plateau.
I'm going to try and get that image up for everyone to see. Hopefully they don't mind me doing that. To show everyone what the conditions are. Where is that, do you know?
Around the center of the island. It's Phoenix, Sample.
Yeah, we'll get that on the screen in just a moment to show the conditions there. But apart from that, we don't really have much else to talk about at this point. I guess we're just making small talk.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to know anything about how cyclones, how the local people live, the cyclones what they do.
What's the public reaction been to this storm?
First of all, for those who don't know, it's not just panic around here. It's completely the opposite, because Mauritius has had a history of frequently having cyclones, sometimes 3-4 strikes the island in just 1 year. So they are quite used to it. No, Mauritius is quite prepared for these kind of things. All the buildings and infrastructures.
I think, just to interrupt you there, something happened with the stream. But we have a black screen in front of us right now. But you might want to repeat what you just said last.
I was just saying that the Mauritians are just used and prepared to cyclones, and all the buildings, the infrastructures are well designed to cope against these kind of situations, and also all the services, the essential services, are up and running, and everyone already knows what to do and what not to do. So you can expect that most, if not every Mauritian are in their house with family and having some time. Maybe some of them are just watching TV and listening to the news and getting updated about the situation of the storm. And that's how it goes. It's very it's a bit odd to say. It feels like some sort of holiday over here. I know other people from elsewhere would think tropical cyclone and would associate that with disaster, but somehow it's not over here. It's really not disaster.
Yeah, I certainly don't think this will end up in a disaster. Obviously, if it was a Category 5 headed towards you, that might be a little bit different, but
Um, even even for Category 5, it's still not as disastrous for
well,
Mauritius because,
not that one has ever
like I
happened
said,
in Mauritius.
we did have some in the past,
It must have been an extremely
and
long time ago. No Category 5 landfalls, I'm
yeah,
pretty sure. But they've
um,
had some serious storms, 80s and
yeah,
90s.
Category 4 and some getting very close to Category 5. But like I said, in the past 10 to 15 years, we did not really have much tropical cyclones hitting the island.
Yes. Craig, any comments? Where is he? Looks like Craig's run off somewhere. Anyway, the current time 4:41 here in the UK. That's 8:41 in Mauritius. Same time in Réunion as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good. I still know the time zones. Let's see. Mashed Potatoes says, like I said in those first few frames, it does look like a Southwest Indian Ocean version of Bonnie TD2L or the June 2016 Gulf of Mexico storm Colin. I wouldn't actually quite agree. It doesn't. It's not a Colin. It might be a bit of a Bonnie. We're talking about the North Atlantic equivalents there. But just to reiterate, if you've just joined us or if you've been away, a Class 2 cyclone warning is still in force for Mauritius. And I heard one or two rumblings that they were talking about. I don't think they're going to raise the warning. Do you?
I really do not think so. Maybe they're gonna just keep it around. The next warning comes up at 10:15 local time here, so in about an hour and a half. But they might, if the wind comes up, they might raise the warning to Class 3 because, of course, they have to account for all sorts of safety measurements and so on. So yeah, but since it's really getting closer, I would think the wind will start picking up a bit more. So there is a chance they might not raise the warning for the next issue, which is in about an hour and a half. But the one after that, if it keeps on this trend, then it might get raised to Class 3.
Yeah, we're going to be watching it very closely to see just for what it does in these next few frames. I guess we're just spending time here waiting around for just more signs of anything happening. But at the moment, it appears as though the storm is really struggling with the wind shear. The latest frames again has the central convection being pushed to the southeast away from the center of the storm, but that means it's being pushed towards Mauritius, and it looks to me as though there's going to be another significant round of rain and wind in the next let's see, an hour maybe, probably coinciding with their update in an hour and a half actually. It's probably when we'll start to see some more significant rainfall begin to push through the northern part of the island and then towards the south, probably without being impeded very much at all. Now, how high are the highest mountains over in Mauritius?
Not very high. Really not very high. I don't know the exact figures, although I should know because I've climbed quite a few of them. But yeah, you can just climb them in about an hour and a half or less, depending on how fast you are. So it already tells you that it's really not high at all. I can Google it really quickly on how high the highest peak is. It's called Piton, la petite rivière, no, monsieur.
Yes, I'm just doing some commenting here. If you've got your own comments, you can send messages through to the YouTube page, any questions, and when the comments are flowing through pretty fast, sometimes we might end up missing it. So if you want to be sure, you can start your message with Force 13 and it highlights it for me. How convenient. As for Reunion Island right now, it looks as though not too much is going on. There's a few clouds moving through, and I guess some maybe minor to moderate rainfall occurring there, but I wouldn't suggest anything too torrential yet, at least not in comparison to Mauritius. That will probably not change for some time. Well, maybe an hour, not an hour, but a few hours. Overnight we may end up seeing some more stronger rainfall in Réunion before daybreak. But it does appear to be in the storm's dry slot. There appears to be a significant dry slot there to the southwest of the storm on the western side. The northwest, there's nothing there at all. But people asking whether the storm has intensified as per local news from Mauritius. It's the knee-jerk reaction would be to say that flare-up constitutes intensification, but you can see just as quickly it's flaring down again. So I would suggest that it's maintaining in the long run and probably has winds of around 50 miles an hour, maybe pushing 60. That's 80 to 95 kilometers per hour, possibly pushing 110, 115 in gusts near the center of the storm. And I'm not sure if you know whether that 96 kilometer per hour wind speed was recorded in Port Louis. Is that sustained winds or wind gusts? Do you know that at all?
I do not know. Perhaps if you send me the link of where you got that data, I could
That's
just
from
verify really quickly.
the Mauritius Met Service. I mean, it's a little bit ambiguous. It says maximum wind speed, and we usually have two definitions: either sustained winds over the course of 1 minute, or wind gusts, which is just the strongest of the strongest winds there.
Okay, I'll try to find out on the website. Probably sometimes they do have some things written in French, but then sometimes in English they kind of do not translate it accurately or mention what it is. So I'll try to find around the page and confirm with you whether it's a sustained wind or just wind gusts.
Yeah, we'll see about that then. And again, some of the models are still going crazy with the storm. The computer models, there are three in a consensus with each other now that the storm will make landfall on Réunion as a tropical storm, and then move towards the southwest, curve back towards the southeast, and rapidly intensify away from the islands, but rapidly intensify into a very significant cyclone, possibly category 3. HWRF says category 4 with winds of 150 miles per hour, which is just outrageous. 240 kilometers per hour winds. But that would be well away from the islands. Let's see. It's been some time now since Carlos been sort of stationary. Isn't it showing signs of resistance? I'm not sure what exactly that's referring to. As to its movement, it's still moving very slowly. As for resistance, well, it's doing its level best to try and keep that flare-up going and maintain its intensity. Because once those cloud tops go, most of the rest of the storm goes as well. So that's what we're really watching with a keen eye right now. Shivi says, I live in the southeast of the island. It just started to rain extremely violently as well as violent winds, which is not out of the realms of possibility at all over there, with the latest satellite imagery showing some significant conditions passing through the southeastern part of the island in the last hour. At this point, I think we will take another break until the start of the next hour. I don't know if anyone wants to add any comments to finish this hour with at this point. The opportunity's there.
Um, well, it's been lovely. And
Yeah. Do you plan to stick around, or it's up to you entirely?
It's really up to you because I'm here anyway, and I do have some work to do, but I'm in no rush, and it's really up to you if you want to have me as a guest. And if Greg's back, I don't know where he's gone, so.
Nor do I. He'll be there somewhere. We'll try and find out within the next 10 minutes. Stay tuned. This is Force 13 Live. We're tracking Cyclone Carlos, and we'll be back with you again at the beginning of the next hour. 9 o'clock it will be. And I'm not sure how long we're going to be sticking around, but we'll be here for the next hour at least. This is Force 13 Live.